Under the chapter Plant Kingdom, we have finished up to algae. Today we'll be discussing bryophytes. Okay, so what are bryophytes? The bryophytes are small, non-vascular, means there is no xylem and phloem. So these are the conducting tissue. So they help in conducting the water and minerals, that is by xylem, and phloem helps in conducting or translocating the food. So these two are absent. So they are the non-vascular plants. They are green in color. They have chlorophyll pigment, and they are the land plant, means terrestrial plant. They lack true root, stem, and leaves. Why they are known as true root, stem, and leaf? Excuse me. Because the root, stem, and leaves are lacking this xylem and phloem, so they are known as the false root, false stem, and false leaves. Okay, and reproduction takes place by spores. So what are these spores, how these are produced, that we'll discuss later on. And the dominant phase in the life cycle is gametophyte. See, in the life cycle of bryophytes, there are two phases. One is gametophyte and other is sporophyte. So gametophyte and sporophyte. Okay, so the gametophyte is the main plant body. It produces gametes and reproduces by sexual method. So gamete is produced, so it is sexual reproduction. Now by sexual reproduction, it gives rise to sporophyte. Now the sporophyte undergoes the asexual reproduction and it produces spores. So this undergoes sexual reproduction and gives rise to sporophyte. Now sporophyte reproduces asexually by the production of spores, and then the spores gives rise to gametophyte. Okay, so this part we'll be discussing in our in under the heading reproduction. Now there is a question which is a very common question in your exam. Why the bryophytes are called the amphibians of plant kingdom? Okay, the answer to this is they live on land but require water for sexual reproduction. Okay, so see, as in case of amphibians, they most of the time they remain on the land, but for reproduction, sexual reproduction, they undergo only sexual reproduction. So for sexual reproduction they have to move to the water, so that's why they are known as amphibians. Similarly, these plants, the bryophytes, also they are basically land plants, but for reproduction, sexual reproduction. What do you think? वो प्लांट मूव करता है वाटर में like the amphibians, amphibian animals? No. So here what is they require water for sexual reproduction. Then how do they require? Because here the male gametes, which are called antherozoids, swims through water body to the female gamete. Okay, so they require water for this purpose. Okay, that's why they are known as amphibians of plant kingdom. Okay, now come to the general characteristics of bryophytes. General characters. So what are the general characters? That they mostly found in cool, moist, and sandy places. They are generally found near the water bodies. Okay, and I have already told you that is they are non-vascular. That is no xylem and phloem, no true root, stem, and leaf, and the plant body is so they don't have true root, stem, and leaf, but they have root like, stem like, and leaf like structures. So they are more differentiated than algae, and they are attached to the soil by rhizoids. Very important, children. So the rhizoids are the root like structure by which they remain attached to the soil. Okay, and the main plant body I have already told you, that is they are the gametophyte, and these gametophytes are haploid. Let me tell you, this is haploid. Okay, now the they have the two phases in their life cycle, that is sporophyte and gametophyte, as I said you earlier. So the sporophyte, the main plant body is gametophyte. So sporophyte remains attached to the gametophyte. Okay, so suppose say this is I'm taking the mosses, moss का एक example ले रही हूँ. So here just a minute. Okay, so suppose this is the structure of the moss plant. My diagram is not that good, but here you see these are the rhizoids, and these rhizoids are the root like structures by which the plant fixes to the substratum or the any जो चट्टान बोलते हैं ना उसमें attach होता है. Then you can see this is the main plant body, which is the gametophyte. Now this gametophyte reproduces sexually by producing the gamete, and these gametes are fused to form the zygote, and then the zygote develops into the sporophyte. So this portion is the sporophyte. Okay, so the sporophyte is attached to the gametophyte. So this is what I wanted to say. The next, the mainly they reproduce. Now the sporophyte sporophyte reproduces by spores and gives rise to the gametophyte, and they need water for fertilization. Need water for fertilization. I think it is clear to you up to this. Okay, now come to the habitat of this plant. means where do they grow. The habitats are moist soil, shady forest, damp rock, marshy places. Marshy means these are the moist places, rather you can say, and river bank, etc. Okay. Now this plant body is thalloid. Thalloid means what? Flat and undifferentiated. Flat and undifferentiated. Some of them may be thalloid and some of them may be leafy. Leafy means a stem like and leaf like structures are present. Stem like and leaf like structure may present. So now let me tell you this structure, the thalloid structure. So if you take the cases of Markansia, you can see that the structure is completely flat and it is not differentiated even to the leaf like, stem like and root like structures. Okay, so but in leafy structure what I have shown you here, these are the leaf like structures. Leaf like structures. So this is the leafy structures. Okay, now they have the rhizoids. I have already told you the root like structures. Now come to the rhizoids. What is the role of rhizoids? Let me tell you. The rhizoids are root like structures, but not the true root like structures, and their function is to anchor the plant to the substratum. Substratum means anything on which it grows, जिसको हम बोलते हैं चट्टान. Okay, and they help in absorbing water and mineral. So they perform the function of root, but they are not true root because they lack xylem and phloem. Okay, now these rhizoids may be, it may be two types. It may be unicellular, it may be multicellular. Okay, now come to the life cycle of bryophyte, which is the most important part in this topic. Life cycle. Okay, as I have said you, the bryophytes life cycle involves two phases, that is gametophyte. So it has two phases. Two phases, that is gametophyte, which is haploid, means N, and the other one is sporophyte, which is 2N or diploid. Okay, so now this gametophyte, it is the dominant generation, as you know, the main plant body. This is the main plant body and it is dominant phase. Remember, this part is very important. मेन प्लांट बॉडी एंड डोमिनेंट फेज. लाइफ साइकिल में ज़्यादातर टाइम कौन लेता है? आपका गैमेटोफाइट लेता है. Okay, but this sporophytes, they develop after fertilization. After fertilization, and they're attached to the gametophyte. Okay, and they reproduce asexually. Okay, so why they're attached to the gametophyte? Why don't they detach from the plant? Because they depend on gametophyte for nutrition. Okay, or you can say they are the partial parasite on the gametophyte. So why I am saying partial? Because the sporophytes are having their own chlorophyll pigments on own chloroplast, but that chloroplast is not able to produce sufficient food by photosynthesis, which can help for the development of the sporophyte. So that's why it depends on the gametophyte partially. So it is known as partial parasite on the gametophyte. Now come to the sex organs. Sex organs. Its life cycle is very important, children. So they have multicellular sex organs. The sex organs are multicellular. So the sex organs, as you know, they reproduce sexually. So they have a male sex organ and female sex organ. Okay, the male sex organ is known as antheridium. Okay, and this antheridium produces biflagellate antherozoids, which are known as male gametes. Okay, clear? Now these male gametes, since they are having flagella, so they are motile and swim through water. Swim through water. Now come to the female sex organ. The female sex organ is known as archegonium, and these archegonium are flask shaped and produce only one egg. Okay, so here the antheridium produces many biflagellated antherozoids. Okay, so these are the antherozoids. But this archegonium, the structure is more or less like this. It is flask shaped and it contains a single egg. So this is archegonium and this is the egg. Okay. Now these male and female gametes are ready. The male gametes are the antherozoid and female gametes are the egg. So the eggs are produced in less number and male gametes are produced, or the antherozoids are produced in large number. Now both of them are fused during fertilization. So during fertilization, what happens? A few important points you have to remember. Water carries the antherozoids. They have flagella, so with the help of flagella, they can move very easily in the water. Okay. Now this antherozoid reaches the archegonium. Okay. And in the archegonium, one antherozoid fuses with one egg, because through this only one antherozoid can enter, and that antherozoid fuses with the egg, and after the fusion, what is formed? As usual, a zygote is formed. Okay, now let me tell you what the ploid is of the antherozoids. Remember, the antherozoids are haploid, and the egg is also haploid because they are the male and female gamete. So by the fusion of the male and female gamete, what is produced? The zygote is produced, and this zygote is 2n, that is diploid. Okay, now this zygote develops into sporophyte. Now the role of gametophyte is over. So this is these sex organs are present. Let me write down. They are developed, not present. They are developed on the gametophyte. ओके, तो गैमेटोफाइट इज द मेन प्लांट बॉडी. मेन प्लांट बॉडी में सेक्स ऑर्गन होते हैं बिकॉज दे रिप्रोड्यूस सेक्सुअली. सो मेल सेक्स ऑर्गन दे आर आंथेरिडियम. आंथेरिडियम में प्रोड्यूस होता है आंथेरोजोइड्स विच आर नोन एज मेल गैमेट. द फीमेल सेक्स ऑर्गन्स आर आर्केगोनियम, एंड दिस आर्केगोनियम are flask shaped, and they produce only one egg. Now by water current, the antherozoids are carried up to the archegonia, and in the archegonia there is a egg, and the antherozoid fuses with the egg, and the zygote is formed. Now this zygote develops into the sporophyte. So this sporophyte is what is the nature of the sporophyte? The sporophyte is 2n. Remember, this is sporophyte, and it develops into a multicellular sporophyte. So now the zygote develops into a multicellular sporophyte, and one more important thing you have to remember, that is the zygote. So here the zygote generally क्या होता है? zygote मियोसिस होकर फिर स्पोर्स बनाता है, बट यहाँ पर जाइगोट नॉट अंडरगो मियोसिस इमीडिएटली. ये तुरंत मियोसिस नहीं होता, तुरंत स्पोर प्रोड्यूस नहीं करता. सो ये पहले क्या करता है? इट डेवलप्स इनटू ए मल्टी सेलुलर sporophyte, and this sporophyte has 3 parts. Okay, so suppose this is the sporophyte. The sporophyte has it has 3 parts, that is the foot, then space is not there, sufficient space. the structure is like this. Okay. Okay, so this is foot by which it remains attached to the gametophyte. Then this is seta, the basal part, and this is the main part, that is the capsule. So it has three parts, the sporophyte has. Now this sporophyte forms the spores. The sporophyte undergoes, it is already there. So now this sporophyte undergoes meiosis, and it produces haploid spores. It produces haploid spores, and now this haploid spore germinates into gametophyte. Okay, and this life cycle is repeated. Okay, now in this life cycle it shows alternation of generation. So alternation of generation, this is another important question for your exam. What is alternation of generation, and how do the bryophytes show alternation of generation in their life cycle? So the life cycle has two phases: haploid sexual gametophyte phase, which alternates with the diploid asexual sporophyte phase. Sporophytic phase. So this is the definition of alternation of generation. Please remember this one, and you can explain better. And I'll give you the schematic of this one. Schematically, I'll give you how the that is the alternation of generation or the reproduction takes place. So let me give you the schematic diagram, flow chart. So life cycle of ब्रायोफाइट्स. ओके, ये आप याद रख लो बच्चों, आप एग्जाम में लिखोगे, कोई एक मार्क भी आपका नहीं काट सकता, आधा मार्क भी नहीं काट सकता. सो द लेट मी स्टार्ट विद द स्पोरोफाइट. The sporophyte produces spores. The spores are haploid, and the sporophyte produces by meiosis. The spores are produced by meiosis. The spore germinates. Okay, germinates to what? Gametophyte. So the sporophyte is diploid, and it germinates to form the gametophyte, which is haploid and reproduces sexually. So it has, as I said, they have the male and female sex organs. They have antheridium and archegonium. Okay, and so this is the male organ, this is female organ. Okay, so now the male organ produces antherozoids, female organ produces the egg, which is N. Antherozoids are also N, and they are motile. Already I have told you. So no need to mention here. So now these two are fused and fertilization takes place. And for fertilization, water is required. Okay. After fertilization, what is formed? Zygote. And this zygote is 2N, and this zygote develops into sporophyte. Okay, which is 2N. So the zygote simply undergoes mitosis, so there is no reduction in chromosome number. So it is 2N, and the sporophyte has what are the structure? They have foot, seta, and capsule. Okay, and it undergoes meiosis to form the spores. The spores are N or haploid, and that give rise to new gametophyte. I think the life cycle is very much clear to you. Let me repeat. Already I have shown you with the help of diagram. तो देखो इसके लाइफ साइकिल में क्या होता है, देयर आर 2 phases, और ये 2 फेज है वो ऑल्टरनेट होता है. जैसे स्पोरोफाइट सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन से गैमेटोफाइट बनता है और गैमेटोफाइट सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन से स्पोरोफाइट बनता है, एंड दिस इज कॉल्ड अल्टरनेशन ऑफ जेनरेशन. अच्छा, ये लाइफ साइकिल में सबसे पहले आपका स्पोरोफाइट जो होता है, द स्पोरोफाइट इज 2N diploid. It undergoes meiosis and it produces the haploid spores, and each of the haploid spore germinates into a gametophyte. The gametophyte now reproduces sexually, okay, and it has how it reproduces sexually by producing the gametes. The gametes produced are antherozoids and eggs, which are produced in the antheridium and archegonium respectively, and these antherozoids are brought to the egg by water, and fertilization takes place. After fertilization, the zygote is formed, which is 2N, because this is N, this is N, they are fused to form the 2N, and now this 2N structure, the zygote develops into the sporophyte. But this sporophyte is formed by mitosis only, and it has 3 parts, that is foot, seta, and capsule. Now this sporophyte undergoes meiosis, that is reduction division. The chromosome number is reduced to half, and by meiosis they produce the spores, and the spore, each of the spore develop into a new gametophyte. So this is how a sporophyte develops into a gametophyte. Again a gametophyte develops into a uh, your sporophyte. Okay, so this is about the alternation of generation and life cycle of bryophytes. So in the exam you may be asked what is alternation of generation, and explain it with help of with reference to life cycle of bryophytes. Then you have to write this much. First you write the alternation of generation, what is alternation of generation, then life cycle of bryophytes. So in the bryophyte, how it is alternated. So here you can, in the conclusion you can write down, since in the above mentioned life cycle the gametophytic phase alternates with the sporophytic phase, so hence it shows alternation of generation. So I think up to this it is very much clear to you. If any doubt is there, you can ask me in the WhatsApp or in the comment section. Okay, but your doubt must be clear. Please note it down, and if you give your write your answer in the flow chart form, it will be better. And no, I guarantee you, I ensure you that nobody will cut your even 1/4 mark. 1/4 mark भी आपका नहीं कटेगा, because it includes everything. Okay, so this is about today's session. In the next session we will be discussing about 2 particular bryophytes, mosses and liverworts, and then the economic importance of the bryophytes. So till then, bye bye, thank you.